Hey guys, it's AV. Welcome to you, my Radio One family. Welcome to another live stream conversation. Want to say Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us as we inch closer to the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration weekend. I wanted to kind of shine a light on what it means to be a drum major for justice. And we're going to be speaking to a few special community leaders about their personal stories. But first, let me tell you about this exciting weekend that we have coming up, celebrating the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and everything that he's done, not only for our community, but what he's done worldwide and the impact that he has had on our lives. We're getting ready for the 44th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Original Parade and Festival this year. So it's a little added on to this year's celebration, but the parade is going to kick off on Monday, this Monday, January the 17th at 10 a.m. in downtown Houston at the corner of Smith and Lamar. And following the parade with your family and your friends, we're going to have a MLK Festival in Herman Square at City Hall. Now, it's going to feature live entertainment. Also going to have some kid-friendly activities, have food trucks there because you know we got to eat as we celebrate and remember the legacy and the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. And they're going to have art activation and so much more. So prepare yourself to come out and enjoy the day beginning at 10 a.m., of course, at the corner of Smith and Lamar in downtown Houston for the 44th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Original Parade and Festival. It's all driven by your Houston area Chevy dealers, the Black Heritage Society, and the city of Houston. Now let's dive in as I welcome our first guest. She is the executive director of the Black Heritage Society. We welcome Ms. Teresa Brewer to our conversation today. How are you doing, Ms. Brewer?
Oh, I'm doing great. And thank you for having us. We are so delighted to be a part of this. So thank you for allowing
Thank you
us to
so
come
much.
on the program.
I appreciate it. Now you're gonna have to do like me, Miss Brewer, and probably slide over a little bit so I can get you see you in the camera so I can see that lovely face. Because I don't want you to hide out. I want you to be seen like me so the world can embrace this ebony hue that you and I have on today. So I appreciate you. Let's dive right in as we have this great conversation about being a drum major for justice. And tell us why it's so important for families to participate in the upcoming Black Heritage Society MLK celebration event.
It's so important because it's life changing, number one. Um, the Black Heritage Society, our mission is to perpetuate the dreams of Dr. and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Uh, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was a fighter for equal rights of all people. We're excited to announce this year our parade. And post pandemic, it's been brutal.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
still standing
right.
and we're coming together still. What a wonderful legacy to come out on. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Our theme this year, of course, is to be a drum major for justice. Dr. Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So I stand in that same vein of what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said. And equal justice is the same for all people, regardless of race, gender, or creed, and should resonate throughout all of our communities.
Yeah. And I love how you say that. It should resonate through all of our communities. We all can play a role. Everybody can play a role in being
Yes.
a drum major for justice. If you don't do nothing but start within your family or within your community, on your street, being able to stand up and to continue the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is something that we all can participate in. I want you to talk about some of the things that you have done and that you are doing, Ms. Brewer, as a drum major for justice in Houston. Let them hear a little bit about what you've done. What you've done.
Well, here at this organization, I've been working. We have changed. We've taken the organization to a different level of accountability in the
Yeah.
community. We want everybody to be involved and get the word out about Dr. Martin Luther King's teaching. So that's one of our objectives, is to be more transparent and getting more people involved in the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King, so we all can do our part to make this world a better place for each of us.
Yeah. Do you think we've done enough as a community, as a society, especially I know with our children, even in school. We used to have Black History Month, and we would learn about the great things that our forefathers had done in the community and in the nation. Do you think we're doing enough to get the message or to keep the message alive?
You know what, we are doing our part, but there is more to be done. Children are born every day. I
Yeah.
have grandchildren. It's our job and responsibility. Yes, we need to continue that fight.
I love it. The theme of the MLK Parade, as Ms. Brewer has said, is to be a drum major for justice. And this year, the Black Heritage Society has selected 3 co-grand marshals, and we're excited to have with us Claude Cummings Jr., a regional vice president and communications worker of America. And we're also excited to have Gilbert Andrew Garcia, who's the managing partner of Garcia Hamilton and Associates. They are here with us today. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, you definitely look like some drum majors for justice. I can definitely say that on today. And we're excited that
Hey, man, we're doing our thing. We're doing our thing, trust me.
Yeah. And I want you to talk about it, Ms. Claude, especially highlight how you're being a drum major for justice.
Yep. So first of all, I'm Claude Cummings. I'm the communications worker, regional vice president for the Communication Workers of America. Back in 1986, AV, I was elected president of CWA Local 6222 here in Houston, the first African American to hold that position. And so, being a labor union, we fight for injustice for our members all the time, and we fight for justice for them. By, of course, bargaining contracts and of course, when they get in, to some type of disagreement with management, we handle their grievances and things of that nature. But in 2011, I was elected the regional vice president of the Communication Workers of America. So I represent about 60,000 union members in Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Arkansas. But something also significant happened. The president of CWA appointed me the human rights director for the entire country.
Okay.
For CWA. So what I have done is I have taken CWA to a different level, and not just CWA, but all unions. Traditionally, unions only talk about things that happen within the labor movement.
Right.
All right. But since I've been the civil rights leader for CWA, I've gotten them to talk about things like when Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson. I was actually had the opportunity to go in, spend money to help change the electorate there. Most of you know that community was an African American community with basically 90% of African American residents, but all of the leadership was white. We went in and we actually changed the leadership there. When George Floyd was murdered here not too long ago, CWA and Labor came out with some of the strongest statements against what happened to him than has ever been released by Labor. And that's because of my involvement in trying to get them to speak out on those injustices. We should not just speak out on injustices that happen within labor, but we also need to speak out on injustices that happen outside of labor, because they will have an adverse effect on those that are working in the labor movement. So what I have done is gotten labor leaders across this country to be more proactive in speaking out on injustices that happen in the community, so we can bring justice to those communities. And then, a couple of years ago, I played a very, very, very important part in making sure that we have judges that look like the community. So CWA allowed me to spend a lot of money helping elect the African American female judges that were that took the benches here in Houston a couple of years ago. A better way to have justice than have those on the bench that look like some of us that are coming before the judges. So we have done that not only in Houston, but because of my the fact that I lead the Human Rights Department for all the CWA, I've been able to do that in other places across the country. So I'm quite proud of the work that we have done. We've spoken out on injustices outside the community, and we're going to continue to do that. As a matter of fact, just here recently, just think about the comments that were made by that school board member on yesterday.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I'm also a member of the NAACP. I'm the first vice president here. There's a news conference being held today, and labor leaders are going to be speaking out against the comments that school board member made actually disparaging remarks about African American teachers.
Right.
In the Houston Independent School District. Shameful that we still have that type of things that are being said about our teachers. So labor unions are going to be there speaking out very strongly against that statement that was made and demanding that he actually resign from office, and that the school board members that have not said anything about the statement he made, that they take some type of action against him. So what I'm most happy about is that I've been able to move labor, because let's remember, and I want to thank Ms. Brewer and the Black Heritage Society for making me the first labor leader to actually be a co-grand marshal of a parade. Those of us who know history know that Dr. King was assassinated marching and helping garbage workers that were on strike. So he understood clearly. Dr. King was clear that what good is it to be able to open the doors for people of color to be able to sit at a restaurant and eat if they can't afford to pay for what's on the menu, right? So he understood that the vehicle or the organization that helped fix that particular situation are labor unions, because we're the ones who built the middle class. We're the ones who raised the cost of living. I mean, not the cost of living, but raised the wages and benefits of workers in this country to try to make economics and wages fair, for everybody that works in the labor movement.
I love it.
Those are the things that I've done and that we're continuing to do. And we're going to be speaking out more on injustices that take place outside of the labor movement, because they certainly affect those that are also inside the labor movement.
Yeah, thank you for all that you've done, and definitely being honored as a co-marshal for this MLK Jr. Festival and Parade weekend. You definitely have done a lot of great work, especially in the labor pool, because conversations we know go on in our workplaces, and sometimes it's taboo for us to have these conversations, but they're necessary when we can make change, not only from a labor perspective, but we can make change in our workforces across the country, because then stuff, as you said, like yesterday, wouldn't happen if people were standing up and really being drum majors for justice. We definitely
That's exactly right. And we're not doing enough of it. We're not doing enough of it. You asked Ms. Brewer a couple of minutes ago, are we doing enough? And the truth of the matter is, we're not. I believe that if we could wake Dr. King up and bring him up to date on things that have happened in this country, he'd say, why aren't you still marching around the Supreme Court and Congress, because we don't have a Voting Rights Act that is passed.
A lot to do.
We still have a lot to do that needs to be done, and we need to continue to mobilize to start a movement in this country like Dr. King did to make changes. Things change through movements.
I love it. Mr. Gilbert, thank you for joining us today, and I want you to dive in as well and share with us some of the highlights of the things that you're doing to be a drum major for justice.
Sure. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me and the team. And as you just heard, Mr. Claude Cummings, I mean, he's a giant. He's a giant, not just in the labor movement, but nationally as a leader. And of course, Ms. Brewer and what the Black Heritage Society is doing to keep all the things that Dr. King stood for alive, that in of itself is a giant task. So I'm very, very happy to be on the show with both of them.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna get into the things you mentioned, but the first thing I'd like to say is it's a big deal for me to be one of the co-grand marshals. It's a big deal for me as a Hispanic. I think it really shows something to the universe that Blacks and Hispanics should and can work together for the betterment of the community, because after all, we're the majority. And so I think it's a wonderful thing. So I'm very proud as a Latino, very proud for my firm and for my family. It's a very big deal. And it has given me the opportunity to really go back, and I've been on YouTube to revisit some of Dr. King's great speeches.
Yes, sir.
And they're all there. There's so many of them. And of course, we all know the I Have a Dream, but the one that just gives me chills, AV, is that one mountaintop. The one that he gave before he was assassinated, when he's there, and Claude mentioned it on behalf of the sanitation workers. And he talked about, how he had been stabbed before. And he talked about how, the Lord has given him. He's been to the mountaintop and he's seen, and we as a people will get to the promised land. And he goes, I may not get there with you.
Right.
I mean, it just gives you chills. And to hear him say, I'm not fearing any man.
Yeah.
I think those sorts of things, we need all of our kids to see those sorts of things. And I don't know what's happened in this country. It's this whole, when they're starting to like burn books and take books away and this, at the end of the day, we should be learning more about our culture and where we all come from. We should be learning more about our leaders and what they've done to create opportunity for us. And so, it should be the other way. And continuing in my life, I will tell you the first time I experienced overt racism. Are you ready for this, AB?
Come on.
I was called, I'm just going to say it, I hope you don't mind here. I was called a dirty Mexican.
Yeah.
You know how old I was? 6 years old.
Wow.
My neighbor called me that.
Yeah. Not surprising.
Because my brother had a little bitty mini bike and he was revving it up right on the driveway. And those were the days when you had rabbit ears and he would mess up our neighbor's TV on purpose.
TV, right. Yeah.
He came out and called me that. And I remember that stunned me.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking to myself, I was looking at my skin. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah. For a 6-year-old.
You fast forward and you would think, I have sort of participated in the American dream. I went to Yale University. I worked on Wall Street. You would think that I would not experience it anymore. I still experience it. I'll give you one professionally. I was with one of my colleagues on the West Coast visiting with a very powerful allocator of capital because we manage money. And they outright told me they would never allocate any capital, never put us in front of their clients. And you want to hear the reason why, AV?
Yes, sir.
We did not have enough white male partners in our firm.
Wow.
Imagine that for a second.
Yeah.
And if they can say that to me at my face, and we're best in class and all the things I said, imagine what they say to the new firm or the smaller minority-owned firm. And if they feel so powerful and so bold to say it to our face, imagine what they say behind our back. And it's just stunning. And so when I hear these episodes like the school board member and things like that, it's outrageous.
Right.
And everyone needs to step up and say something. The great Congressman John Lewis made the comment, when you see something, say something.
Say something, yeah.
And he went on to essentially say, or else you really are a caucus, you're a participant in the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
You got to step up and stand up. And that's what we're about. I've done things my whole life working with people of color to get internships on Wall Street. We have a very robust internship at our firm for people of color. And are you ready for this? We have 35 employees, half are from UH System and TSU.
I love it.
We are the real deal. And we are proof positive that you can have a firm like ours where we are 75% women and we're 75% black and brown. And you can have those people together and create magic and do a great job. We are evidence, and we're not alone. The whole point is to give our people, our young people of color, an opportunity to understand these different opportunities in the business community, particularly financial services, because there's so much wealth created in the financial services industry. And if you really look back at the origin of Mr. Floyd's murder and other things, at the end of the day, it all goes back to the extraordinary wealth inequality that exists in this country between the haves that have gotten extraordinarily wealthy beyond people's imaginations and the regular people that are struggling just to eat right now with food prices going up so high. It shouldn't be happening in America. Yeah.
A lot of meat on that bone. And I like how you said, man, being in position as yourself, being in a position not only to share the wealth of the information of our history, but also to be able to be in a position of authority to share the wealth of information that's going to take those in a lower bracket, those in unhealthy environments, to be able to bring them up to be able to be successful as well.
Yeah, and I would tell you, and this is probably better for Mr. Cummings to say, but when you see workers today, I think a lot of the younger people, and if I say anything that's inappropriate, Claude, I apologize, but it just seems to me, my observation, a lot of the younger people should recognize the struggles that went in the past that got them these wonderful benefits, that got us as people of color the right to vote, that got us the ability, the freedom to eat where we want, that got people a 5-day work week, health insurance, that got people these things. And I think they should all be joining the labor movement, because that collectively is the power of the people. And that's what will enable them to have good careers and to be able to have good living standards for their family.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 120%. And that's a part of that information and history being passed down, because you see with the generations, a lot of schools don't even teach history. A lot of schools don't even get into these conversations that you and I are having today. The kids are unaware of what's going on, so they don't have an appreciation of what struggle that our forefathers and mothers had to go through before us to create these opportunities for voting rights, so that we can have, equal justice in the workplace, so we can have equal justice in the justice system. That information has not been passed on, and we see it by their response to not celebrating the history of those who have gone before us to do great things or to open doors for us.
Well, my father was treated so poorly when he was a realtor. You have to have a broker sponsor you as a realtor. So he joined, and all the real estate companies were, white Caucasian male firms. And he joined one, and he was told, are you ready for this? Roland, that's my father's name. Roland, you can join our firm, but you have to work at your house, because we don't want you to scare away our white clients. So you need to work from your house, and you can sell the small Mexican homes to the Mexicans. But you can't sell the bigger homes where your commission would be bigger to the white community. And that's been ingrained in his head. And that's why he ingrained it on all of his children to give back, to think of something bigger than yourself. And that's why we've become, I think all of us in my family, drum majors of justice.
Yeah, I want to thank you and Mr. Claude Cummings Jr., both drum co-marshals for the MLK Jr. parade. And thank you guys for both being drum majors for justice. Ms. Brewer, I want to talk a little bit. Mayor Turner made an announcement about the 2022 MLK Grand Parade Marshal, JSC Director, Ms. Vanessa Weiss. Tell us a little bit about Ms. Vanessa and the wonderful things that she's doing. And this was an excellent choice of her being the Grand Marshal this year.
Yes, we're elated that she is our Grand Marshal. Number one, she's a female.
Number one. Yeah.
Number one. Her name is Vanessa E. Welch. So we're just so excited. She is the director of the NASA Johnson Space Center, which is home to America's astronaut. So we're elated to have her. She is responsible for overseeing a broad range of human spacecraft activities. And I think we may even have something in the parade, maybe a surprise.
All right.
Miss Vanessa Welch.
I love it. I'm excited. The parade, of course, will kick off this Monday at 10 a.m. in downtown Houston at the corner of Smith and Lamar. Bring the entire family out. Let's get ready to celebrate. And, of course, following the parade, as we said, there's going to be an MLK Festival that's going to take place in Herman Square at City Hall, because y'all know we love to celebrate. It's going to be live entertainment, kid-friendly activities. Food trucks will be there because, we got to eat. We got to celebrate, but we have to eat. Of course, art activation, which I'm so excited about, and so many other things brought to you, of course, and driven by Houston area Chevy dealers, the Black Heritage Society, and the city of Houston. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And before we get out of here, once again, I want you all to leave some encouraging words to encourage everybody who's watching today to step out in their area to be a drum major for justice. So I want to start with Mr. Cummings, if you don't mind, just share a word of encouragement to everybody.
Let me just say this. I think we have to mention Brother Ovi Duncantale, who actually started the Black Heritage Society. Of course, Ms. Brewer's done such a great job, but I have to just give some type of comment about him. He was such a great leader, and we thank him for everything that he has done. He supported labor whenever we had some type of issue going on in the labor arena. He was there for us, and we certainly appreciate him and the legacy that he has left with the MLK parade. And I'll just have to mention my friend Mr. Garcia and the work that he has done. His mouth and his feet, AB, move in the same direction. I happened to walk into his office one day, and he was actually on an interview with Wall Street, I believe, actually talking about the inequality, when it comes to financial resources in our community. He didn't know I was going to be there. He didn't know I was listening in to him, but he was really giving them the blues about the fact that there needs to be more involvement when it comes to people of color in the economics and the financial world. So I want to thank him and Mr. Al-Kashani, who's not here with us today, but he's also done a lot of great work in our community. And also, let me just say, of the first African American female. Think about that.
It's amazing.
Leading the space program, the Orion mission, the Gateway. She's in charge of making sure we're going to have a permanent space station or vehicle around the moon, and over 10,000 civil service people. Absolutely fantastic. Who would have ever thought that we'd have an African American female doing that? So she certainly is the proper person to be able to be the Grand Marshal. So we just want everybody to come out, and if you see, be like Dr. King. You don't necessarily have to be the leader, right? Mm-hmm. He said, if I'm going to be a drum major, if you're going to say that I was a drum major, say I was a drum major for justice. Say I was a drum major for a person that was hungry. I took care of that need. Say that you're a drum major for doing something in the community to help someone who is in need. Just don't be involved because you want to get all of the credit. I've told Ms. Brewer and I told others, I don't do this work because I want credit. I do it because I want to help people. And that's what we all should be like, because that's what Dr. King was about. He was about helping people, not necessarily the fact that he was leading the civil rights movement at that time. So continue to do that. Come on out and participate in the parade. We're looking forward to having a great time. And I thank you and Magic 102 and your listeners and Praise 92.1 for allowing us to have this great opportunity to talk about what we've done as drum majors for justice.
I love it. Mr. Garcia.
Sure. Thank you. And again, I'm so appreciative. I think first and foremost, I would say to people listening is get involved.
Yeah.
Right.
This is our home. This is our world, our country. If you don't really like certain things going on, register to vote and vote.
Right.
Let your voice be heard. And remember, we're going to be giving this planet, this world, the decision we make today to our children. Mm-hmm. So get involved, and we got to stay on guard. It's amazing that here we are today. We're going to be celebrating Dr. King and his incredible work. And we're still struggling with things like gerrymandering and a lack of representation. And we're still struggling with people being able to vote. We should be figuring out how everyone can vote easily. Everyone should get registered immediately. When you get your Social Security card, you're getting registered immediately. We should make it easy for people to participate. But I want to make sure I leave this message with all the young people listening, which is the future is bright. It is beautiful. And the reason is there's so many things going with technology. There's so many things going on with different communities. You can see the minorities communities working together. And when we work together, magic will happen. Yeah. And so I really believe that the future is so bright for our community. So be excited and be thrilled about it, but make it happen.
Man, so excited to have you two guys, especially as co-grand marshals, Mr. Claude Cummings Jr. and Mr. Gilbert Garcia. Thank you guys for the wealth of information that you share. But I got to close it out. I had to close it out with the executive director of the Black Heritage Society, Ms. Brewer. I want to thank you just for taking the time out to share with us. And we got to end it on you leaving words of encouragement and inviting everybody once again to come out and celebrate.
Again, thank you. Black Heritage Society takes the lead to nurture inclusion and diversity. Like Dr. King Jr., work to promote equal treatment of all races for the betterment of all communities over America. We do thank our co-grand marshals, Claude Cummings Jr., Mr. Gilbert Andrew Garcia, and Al Kashani. And we also just love and applaud our Grand Marshal, Vanessa Welch. We're all excited. Martin Luther King Day of Service, also, we're going to have a day of service for everyone to get involved and participate, young and the seasoned person. We have what we call the Parade of Giving. You can bring donations to the festival, raid the pantry, bring non-perishable items, gift cards, food, because this pandemic has done a number onto a lot of families, and we need a lot of support. So as they are saying, come together and we can make a difference. So we invite you out again this January the 17th to the Martin Luther King Parade and Festival. And we thank the city for joining us on the parade and presenting this grand festivity to the Houston community. And most of all, we thank the Houstonians. We love you. Thank you for your support. Thank all the participants and everybody that's involved. Our board especially, and then of course our late founder, Ovite Duncan Tell.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah, I love it. Mr. Duncan Tell, love him. Had many opportunities, many conversations with him, and a great guy, definitely missed, but his legacy lives on. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. Looking forward to seeing everybody out this Monday, 10 a.m. at the corner of Smith and Lamar as we kick off the 44th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Original Parade and Festival. We come to celebrate, then we go to serve. And that's what it's for all of us to do, become drum majors of justice, to go out and serve. My name is AV. Follow me at Faith and Fame with AV, whether you're TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, I'm all across the board. You have a great day.